Welcome back to WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Governor Matt Bevin says the state will need to get some additional money out of any tax reform proposal that he says needs to happen at some point this year. During his State of the Commonwealth address this week, the governor said Kentucky needs more revenue to deal with a huge pension debt and to keep the state on track. He revealed the shortfall that he says is far deeper than most have believed.
If we look at it honestly and actually peg what we owe to the liability of what we have, in assuming we're only going to get like 30-year Treasury notes as the return, not these hypothetical numbers that we haven't been getting and are not going to get. We don't have a 30 or 35 or $38 billion pension problem. We have an $82 billion pension problem. $82 billion is what is owed. That is just short of $19,000 for every single man, woman, and child in Kentucky. And it touches all of you, legislators, touches those in the judicial ranks, touches all the aforementioned state workers we talked about, touches on teachers, it touches a number of folks. Every single one of these, if we use a true expected rate of return that we're likely to be able to get, the best funded pension system we have is less than 50% funded, the best. I won't even tell you whose that is. Some of you probably know. It'll get people upset. I will simply say this. The worst funded is that for the majority of our employees. The majority of Kentucky's retirees who are part of KERS have a pension plan that only has 10 cents in it for every dollar that's owed. That's not a pension system. That's a checking account, essentially, and it's about to go bankrupt. That is a fact. That's not an overstatement. It is so close to insolvency, it would have been taken over long ago if this was a private company. The PBGC would have taken this over years ago. We have an obligation to the people of Kentucky, and we had better clean it up. There are going to be hard decisions made by this body, by the House and Senate, and I encourage you, please be bold and be strong, because there are going to have to be tough decisions made. We have an obligation for the people who have worked and expect their checks to keep coming, to make sure those checks keep coming. That is our moral and legal obligation, and we better do it. We are, as I mentioned earlier, the 47th lowest level of workforce participation in the country. That's unacceptable. We have 225,000 able-bodied men and women in Kentucky who are not looking for work or don't go to work. 225,000 able-bodied, working age, not looking for work.
The governor from the State of the Commonwealth address the legislature returns to Frankfort this week to tackle issues including charter schools. This more complex tax and pension issue awaits a special session later in the year. Before we go, I'm now with WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey for a quick chat about the strange weather that we've had and also a special project that we're working on here at WKYT. It has been an unusual winter.
It's been a little interesting, huh?
Right.
It's a winter, Bill, that one pattern just cannot get established.
Right.
I mean, you have to take the Dramamine when you look at a 7-day forecast around here. It is up, it is down, all over the place. Spring, winter a few days, then spring kind of battles it out. And that's basically been the pattern since December. I'm calling it the winter of March because it's been a March pattern since day one, right?
Right. So the reminder, winter isn't over.
No, it isn't. And, you know, lately I've been getting a lot of questions on, okay, where do we rank right now in snowfall?
Right.
You know, most people think, okay, we haven't had very much snow. This has got to be one of the least snowiest winters. Take a look at this graphic. So far in Lexington, Bill, since December 1st, 3.4 inches of snow, which in the overall scheme of things is way down there, obviously. But where does it rank historically? Take a look at this. We're not into the top 10 for least snowiest winters, and we still got more than a half month to go of February. The least snowy snow lovers, you would be crying back in the winter of 31-32. 0.1 inches of snow. Are you kidding me? 0.4 in the winter of 49 and 50. By the way, that winter of 49-50 was followed, that next winter had approximately 45 or 50 inches of snow. So it made up for it in a hurry. And you go down that list, and that's pretty wimpy. Those are some wimpy winters on there.
You get up to 2011, heading into 2012, and at this point, here we are with 2.3 inches. But then that leads in to what we're talking about in terms of this ominous anniversary that's coming up on March 2nd.
Yeah, and that was a winter where where we had less snow than where we've had now. We had milder spells. We had severe weather outbreaks. That led up to the March 2nd, 2012 tornado outbreak into central and eastern Kentucky. And that was one that was devastating. We're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of that. And if you take a look at this graphic, you can see all the tornadoes that touched down in Kentucky that fateful day. Bill, that's 18 different tornadoes that swept across the bluegrass state. Obviously, you had a concentration into western Kentucky, into northern Kentucky, and then we know about East Bernstadt, Salyersville, and West Liberty. That is coming up on the 5-year anniversary of that. There's the East Bernstadt tornado. That was an EF2 tornado, had winds of 125 miles an hour, and you see the path there in red. It wasn't on the ground very long, Bill. That's a more typical tornado that you get in Kentucky. That, unfortunately, took 6 lives down there in Laurel County.
Right.
Wasn't on the ground very long. It was, one of the more typical tornadoes that we get around here. Now contrast that with the 2 long-track tornadoes that ripped through West Liberty and Salyersville. Both of those stayed on the ground into West Virginia. That's unheard of. The West Liberty tornado, Bill, was on the ground 86 miles. That's something you see out in Oklahoma and Texas, not Kentucky.
Those communities, it was expensive, it was deadly, it was very, very scary, of course, as well. But they've been coming back. Okay.
They have. And coming up on March 2nd, we're going to be live in Salyersville, in West Liberty, showing just how much growth we've seen, how the people are resilient, how they've bounced back from those deadly tornadoes of 5 years ago. On March 1st, we're going to be down in East Bernstadt, too, setting the stage on how East Bernstadt and Laurel County has recovered. We're going to be showing some stories from folks out there, that some of the untold stories of people who were literally fighting for their lives for a couple of minutes there when those tornadoes were hitting. And we're going to show how the communities have bounced back. We'll talk about what you can do in the event of a tornado that comes around, because obviously tornado season is getting here quickly.
I mean, March 1st is coming.
That's exactly right. And the school tornado drills, by the way, are February 28th. They moved those up just because of those March 2nd tornadoes. They're earlier now.
And again, we may not be in the clear as far as winter weather. We have had ice situations and snows later than this, pretty big ones. You
look at from this date going forward, just go 2 years ago. In February of 15 and March of 15. At this point, it hadn't snowed much at all. Then all of a sudden, you had back-to-back snowstorms of 1 to 2 feet across central and eastern Kentucky. That gave us one of the snowiest winters ever. The big ice storm of February 2003 was on Valentine's weekend. So that was later in the year. That was historic. The big daddy of them all, March of '93, the blizzard. Spring breakers stranded on Interstate 75 down in your neck of the woods.
Down there at Williamsburg. A lot of people couldn't get on past that. Some spent their spring break at Chattanooga. They did.
Chattanooga? Why not? You're the new Daytona.
You got it. It was that year. All right. Thank you so much. And look forward to that special programming early in March. All right. That's Kentucky Newsmakers. We'll see you bright and early this week on WKYT This Morning. Chris here in the evening. Have a good week ahead.